Welcome to another extraordinary journey in the global Indian, their journeys and our pride. Today, we are truly honored to have Dr. Manilal Daya, one of the founding members and former president of Indian Association, along with Mrs. Urmi Daya, who has been an equal pillar of strength and service beside him. Together, they have played a vital role in shaping our community celebrations, from Independence Day and Diwali to many other cultural gatherings. Deeply spiritual and devoted, they have conducted Janmashtami year after year, organized Navratri Garba with dedication, and led bhajans that nurtured faith and unity within the community. Their generosity has touched countless lives. The hall behind their surgery became like a second home for all of us. A space of rehearsals, meetings, celebrations, and community events, always given with open hearts and never for personal gain. Dr. Daya's graceful decision to hand over leadership to the next generation reflects truly humility and visionary thinking, and Mrs. Daya's unwavering support throughout the journey has been equally inspiring. We warmly welcome both of them to our show today and look forward to hearing how their beautiful journey of service and devotion began. Welcome, Mrs. Urmi Daya and Dr. Daya.
Thank you for having us on the program.
We all know that you came from South Africa, but then we don't know the rest of the story. So we would like to hear more about that.
Sure, look, we had no idea that we were going to move to Australia. We had a friend in Melbourne. He was very close to both of us, and he had a practice in Melbourne. And he wanted me to join him. At that time, Victoria had restrictions on all doctors coming from South Africa. Their qualifications were not recognized in Victoria. And I said, well, we'll just apply and we'll send it off. At that time, I had a very big practice in South Africa among the indigenous population. Wonderful practice because it was mainly the poor people that were there. And in 1969, I applied, and within 3 weeks, I got a reply from the Australian government that you have to come for an interview. So I was quite surprised that within 3 weeks, we went for an interview, and they said, well, if you want to go to Australia, we can grant you a temporary visa, but you have to leave within 6 months. So I said, well, I'll just go to practice and I just can't leave everything and go. Fortunately, at that time, Urmila's brother, who was also a doctor, had joined me in my practice. So I took time off and we came to Australia on that temporary visa. We came and I had a sort of a holiday because I looked for work and I couldn't find work. I couldn't work in Melbourne, but I couldn't work there, so I came back to New South Wales. I had a friend, my neighbor actually, who had also migrated, and we spent a month with him. And eventually I got a job in Katoomba Hospital. So I took that job and I worked there for 3 months, and somebody offered me a job as a locum in Portland. Portland is west of Katoomba, and he was going to India, so he said, look, run my practice for 3 months. And so I said, fine, I will. So I took on the practice and I ran that practice for 3 months. And at that time, the superintendent of the hospital, because he was also running the hospital, asked me if I could stay behind and take over the hospital. And I said, no, I had to go back because I had just left South Africa on a temporary basis. So when we went back, we came back again in 1984. And when we came back, we didn't come to really stay. We just came to renew our visa with the family. And in the family, I have a son and 2 daughters, Urmila and myself.
But why Australia? You had such a big community. I'm sure you must have settled there. The Gujarati community is quite huge in South Africa, right?
Oh, yes.
So then, why you had to leave that community and come to Australia? Why?
Well, it was getting quite dangerous living there, and we couldn't have a house, and we thought it wasn't safe anymore. So we thought we might have a better future.
To a better country, okay.
The people sometimes don't understand, the situation that was in South Africa.
Okay.
We were born there, so we didn't know,
Didn't have any.
realize any difference, right? So when we were there, because we were born in the system, we knew that we couldn't go to certain white areas, we couldn't go to any white schools, even the university.
Couldn't stay
Where
in the area we wanted.
we couldn't buy a house where we want to.
Was it that bad then?
Oh,
Yes, and it was in South Africa. There were 4 different communities, right? One was the whites, who felt that they were the superior nation. Then we were the Indians mainly because the Indians had done quite well financially, so they were financially not bad. Then we had the mixed group, which we used to call the colored group, which is a mixture of blacks and whites. So that was a huge community as well. And then we had the blacks. So the majority was black, but the black were treated like slaves. And we were second-grade citizens. We couldn't vote. We had no say in the running of the government. But we just stayed there, and because we didn't know any different, we lived there. But fortunately for us, because there were no other avenues, if we couldn't find work, because if you got a job, the whites were given first preference. Then if you got a job, you could never accelerate because it was limited. You became a clerk, and that's where you stayed. So the only options we had was that either you become a teacher, and you can teach in any Indian school only, or you become an accountant and have your own Indian clientele mainly, or you become a teacher, a doctor, and you can have your own practice or work in certain hospitals. There was no point becoming an engineer because there was no work that we could get. So it was very difficult. Becoming a lawyer also was restricted because you could only deal with either the Indians or maybe the blacks.
But did you have freedom in celebrating or practicing your religion?
No, there was always freedom for that. Yeah.
All right.
Fortunately, because we had to stay in allocated areas. Right? We were given demarcated areas. So when we were actually born, Urmila was born in Durban, and I was born in Johannesburg. In Durban, there were a huge Indian population. So because of all these restrictions, there was a lot of religious functions happening in Durban. In Johannesburg, because there were fewer Indians, but still, because of the restrictions, the only way we could meet and greet and get along was we had these religious functions. So in Johannesburg, we had a few temples that came up, and later on in Durban as well, but more so in Johannesburg. So although we were restricted, it so happened that we couldn't marry, there was no intermarrying. It means we couldn't marry a white, we could marry a black. But you couldn't marry any white, so there was segregation there. So people lived within the limit of the restrictions, right? Also, you couldn't get a bride or a groom from India. So you had to choose a bride or a groom in South Africa And of course, at that time, when we were young, the caste system was still prevalent. So most of the communities, most of the people that got married within the caste
Within the
system.
caste and the community.
So the community grew, and we had a very good understanding with all the others. So our religion was
Very strong.
strong,
Very strong.
and we spoke our languages. So we spoke
We
Gujarati,
studied, yeah, we could read and write.
Okay.
and we had schools, Gujarati schools. Some had Hindi schools. So that's how the culture was maintained. So we were not, we whatever culture our parents brought to South Africa, so that was the culture that we learned.
So your parents have moved to South Africa long back ago
Well, they were
for trading
Yes,
and for other
for
purposes.
working, yeah.
if I'm not mistaken, the first Indian migrant came in 1820.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, in 1820.
As a sugarcane plantations.
They came to work in sugarcane plantation, and then a lot of people came from the south. So there were a lot of South Indians. So very few from the north, and then the Gujaratis came. They were the merchants, so they came
They came
to
trading.
to Australians, right? And when my dad came to South Africa, he was only 5 years old, right? And he came with absolutely nothing. He didn't even have a pair of shoes. And his dad he didn't have a father, so his uncle brought him to South Africa, and that's how he came. And from 5 years of age, he learned how to sew clothes. At the age of 19, 20, 21, he had opened up a shop. He was running a business. And I'm from a family of 9. We were all born in South Africa. And because we had this limitation on either you open up your own shop or go into your own business, if you have to go and work for somebody, there will be no progress. You'll be doing the same work for years and years.
Years and years.
So the only advantage we had was to go to school and study. And that's why a lot of South African Indians, you find,
Very well educated.
they all actually went into either medicine. The South Indians, who are very clever, I must say, they went into teaching and became academics and went to university to teach. And then, of course, all the others, they either went into accounting but very, very few engineers. There were a few lawyers as well, but it was a mixed community. But basically mainly South Indians, Gujaratis, and some people,
North Indians.
North Indians, mainly I think from Bihar, still show, but very few people from the Punjab.
Oh,
So far, we didn't have any Singhs or people
Okay.
with turbans. And it's very funny because all those people that came to Africa, in East Africa, there were so many people who came
From Punjab.
from Punjab and settled in Kenya, Uganda,
Yeah.
but not so in South Africa.
But then when you came to Wollongong the first time, so when was that when you came to Wollongong?
So in 1986, we had decided, because the children were getting old and they were in high school,
Yeah.
we had to decide whether we stay here or whether we go back to South
Okay.
Africa. But because the situation in South Africa was getting worse, we thought, well, we rather settle in Australia. At that time, my niece was living in Sydney, so I stayed with them. Urmila and them had not arrived then. And then I did a month's radio doctoring, which was the worst thing
Oh, is it?
for me,
Mhm.
because it was like a nightmare running from one end of Sydney to the other. And then you had to, on your own, there was nobody to take you around. You had to find your own way. And it was like, in those days, there was no GPS. You had to look in the book and then find your way, and then you go
Yes,
from one
it
end
was
to
not
the other,
that easy.
from east to west, north to south. And then when you get there, you're just so so
No
disheartened.
smartphones, no
Nothing.
smart
No,
cars.
we didn't have
Yes.
spoons.
So then what happened is that I said, no, I can't do this work. And I had a very good friend, and I was sitting in his surgery, and I saw this advert in the magazine, Doctor magazine, practice for sale in Coromandel. I have never been to Wollongong except once, many years ago. We came
For a holiday.
we came
But,
You
to
for
to
a holiday
Nowra.
to Wollongong?
No, to Nowra.
now
We came to Nowra and we passed through
Wollongong.
Wollongong. And when I came here, I was quite impressed. And I don't know, when you first came to see me, I don't know where I was, whether I was in Railway Street in that little dingy little room, right in the corner. Right?
Okay.
Nobody would know that there is a doctor there.
Okay.
And sometimes to me, I feel that when things are going to happen, it happens. And it was meant to be that I brought that practice. And after I brought the practice, I realized that after 6 months, I realized that after a while, I must have been really stupid to buy this practice because it was a female practice, right? Mainly female, because they were doing
Okay.
obstetrics.
Interesting.
And I said, oh, my Italian again, right? And I didn't know any Italian. But very, very fortunate, my Italian patient stayed with me after they left. And I was so lucky that at that time, Muniji, Swami Saraswati, and Chidanand Saraswati, and Ramesh Bhai Oza came
to Wollongong.
to Wollongong, and we had
Bhajan.
bhajans and in the hall.
Okay.
And these people can sense if there's something not right.
Okay.
And when Ramesh Bhai told me, look, you better have some prayer done here because there's a lot of, well, I wouldn't say even negativity.
Negative energy. So he wants to
Yes.
remove that.
So yes, so that's what we did. And after that, we never looked back.
We were planning, I was planning to have a small mandir built. And when my mother heard about it, she warned me, it's not something you do one day and forget. Do not make it a mandir.
So that's how your hall has been given to lot of religious celebrations, as well
the
as
church and everyone.
many, not even one particular religion. I
No.
see everything was happening there. We know that address as Dr. Daya's hall. This will come to my next question. How did you get to become the president of IACA, which is Indian Association of Wollongong, and what made you to take that responsibility?
Gauri was the president when I was just one of the members. And for some reason, Gauri one day in a Diwali function just decided, I'm not going to give the speech. You have to go. And at that time, I was so naive. I mean, to speak in front of an audience was a mission I couldn't achieve. But I was thrown into the deep end. And I had to do it. And I was shaking. I remember I was so nervous, right? But that was my first day, right? First time I did that. In the beginning, we used to have a membership fee, but then people used to say, well, you are asking for membership fee, but you don't have a Diwali function. How can we have a membership fee? So we said, forget about the membership fee. We will just charge
And we
for
charged
the
$5.
Diwali. And we used to charge so little.
$5.
$5.
$5. And we used to provide the food.
We used to cook the food, all of us.
This is what I wanted to know. I'm in the new community. Do not know the struggles and how we started.
So, and we used to change and get into our old clothes and wash the pots and pans, and the whole community used to help.
For the first Diwali when I was there, we did it in Korimal Hall. Me and Nagesh took the car and we bought all the vegetables. Remember, sir? Under your supervision.
Korimal Hall, is it?
In the
Library.
Korimal Hall we had. So that was our first Diwali we did it.
We used to have 9 days Navratri.
All right.
9 days in our hall. And every day people used to come and bring their prasad. We do our garba. We even had a huge show, a natak. We had a play, and we charged $5. And we didn't have people here, so all the Sydney people came to watch the show. It was a $5 show we had.
Is it a Gujarati show?
It was a Gujarati play.
Okay,
Gujarati play.
Gujarati play.
Yeah.
So with the Janmashtami too, because for last 22 years I've been watching Janmashtami happening in that hall.
Yeah.
So you always had Janmashtami
Yes.
happening.
I'm always here for Janmashtami or my Hanuman Chalisa. I do. Every year we should go and dance, and it is somewhere where you don't need a drink or you don't need food or you don't need anything. You just have joy in dancing.
Joy with devotion.
Our children have learned that Navaratri is coming. We have to keep it free. And
See, nowadays we have got so many people that have come from India, and so they have brought their culture with them. I don't say that I think we were fortunate or privileged to say that we had a hall that we could offer for our people. So we had decided that we're not going to charge anybody from the community for whatever function they had. So the hall became an integral part of our community.
Let me say like this, you put it so simple that the value would be just vanished. But actually for last 22 years, what I have witnessed is without Dr. Daya's hall, it would be very difficult to even plan a program or execute a program, because when there are more than 10 or 15 people, where would we practice? We had to come to some event venue, and we had to pay a lot of money for that one.
And look at all those vibes that we got, the vibration we got. It was more than what anybody can pay. Right? You can
Absolutely.
never get that.
Never get that.
Never. Right?
Okay.
And I think, and we had bhajans, we had Hanuman Chalisa, we had the Sundarkand, and I mean, people enjoyed it. They had people. We felt so happy that people who came there enjoyed being there, and that was our pleasure.
Absolutely.
That was more than what money can ever do.
Ma'am, now we want to know something about you, your background, and your how did you meet Dr. Daya? We would like to know something about that.
I was born in Durban, and I grew up in a very poor family, and I had 3 brothers, and I was the only sister. And when I was about 15, my brother had got married, and his wife had to, when they come, they had to go home. So her brother came to fetch her, and Manilal came with. He was a student in those days, and I must have been about 16, is it? 15, 16, yeah. And I saw him, and when my baby was going back to Johannesburg, I also went to Johannesburg for a holiday. And I had met Manilal then, but then he was a student in Durban. Then that's how I had met him. And he was still studying, and after a few years he sent a proposal, and my mom was not, he came from a huge family, so my parents were not very happy. But then after about 6 years later, yes, they agreed, and when I was about 22, I got married. Manilal was still studying. He still had a year or 2 to go, and I had 2 children by the time he was qualified, and then we moved back to Johannesburg, and then that's the.
But all the time, like you all migrated to Australia. So how did you manage all that struggle and supporting Dr. Daya, coming over and settling here?
I'm a very positive person, so it wasn't like a struggle. I mean, we had 2 maids at home, and when I came here, I didn't even know how to wash clothes. But then, and then we didn't even have a washing machine, I remember, but then eventually we did, and we got used to it. we got used to it, and I never thought that I want to go back or go back to Africa again. I didn't want to. I was
But
happy.
then, as a lady, you must be knowing any struggle with the groceries, and if you had to cook Gujarati food at home.
No struggle at all.
So
Absolutely.
you had any grocery shops in Wollongong around?
Not sure, but I think there was one in Bondi, and we made do with all that. It wasn't a problem at all.
So you cooked Gujarati food, or you
Yes.
used to eat Western food?
No. I still cook today,
All right, until
every
today.
day.
And Urmila has been my backbone, and she looked after the children. And since we
Because-
left South Africa, she's been with me all the time. Even in South Africa, she did a lot. She did a lot for our family. She's probably she was more respected in our family than I was. I always say that I'm one of the lucky ones. That, I mean, we never had a day that we could say, look, I think after I bought my practice in 1987, for the first 6 months, I was homesick. And because I had a big practice in South Africa, I really felt.
He used to look at the bags on top of the cupboard and said,
And
I think
said,
tomorrow
I
I'm
thought
packing
I should
back.
go back home. But fortunately, my kids, because I had to think about them, we had to stay. So we stayed. And then in June, I lost my mom. And we flew back to South Africa. Urmila, myself, and my younger daughter, Pranita. The first day I came back, my daughter and my son said, look, Daddy, tomorrow you're fully booked. I said, can't be. He says, yes, I remember it was a Saturday. And he said, you are fully booked from morning till lunchtime. There's no place. And when I came back to work, one of my patients, in fact, two of my patients, told me, thanks God you are back.
And then I studied extra, did a beauty course. I had a degree in electrolysis, and then I opened a practice. And for many years, I ran that practice.
Yes, I am aware of that because that was it. And what are your children doing now? They're all settled, I'm sure.
Yes, they're all in Sydney. Janita's got 2 children, and yes, she's a yoga teacher.
Okay.
And Deepak is in the financing, and Pranita is a pharmacist.
All right.
So they're all settled, and my grandson's just today has traveled to Bendigo to start university. Yeah.
Unbelievable. I've seen your children younger, and now they're also. So, ma'am, I've seen you as a religious and very devotional person, both of you. And in fact, I was also part of your journey, and you inspired me. So, just wanted to know about Shiva Temple.
In life, I feel your life is planned. I believe in that. That you think you are the master of your destiny. You are not. The person who actually started the Shiva Temple, he came to Wollongong, and he wanted to recruit all the Indians from Wollongong to come to Campbelltown to the council meeting to impress the councillors that there is a need for a temple in Sydney. So we were so excited, and he came with this vision that we want to have an underground temple. So that's how he came to Wollongong, and he gave us this speech, and he actually he got us involved, right? He just mentioned my name and a few others' names, and said that these people are donors, and if anybody else wants. And we had no idea. We had never said anything, and he just said this openly. So we decided, well, fine. If that's what it meant to be, we will just go ahead. And so I became a committee member of the Shiva Temple. And we, as you know, some of you would know that we went through a very tough time. Of course, it all worked out. We eventually managed to get the money, and we started right from scratch. And today we are so blessed that we have a temple which is flourishing. We have no debt, and I think we are privileged
to be
to
part
be
of.
part of it.
We do it. We find peace going there, working. Dave and used to run the canteen. We feel very, very peaceful.
Peaceful.
Yeah.
So when we give something, it's more peaceful. And I've seen for Shivratri this year, the crowd was unimaginable.
You came?
Yes, I
Yes.
was there, and
Did you
the
see?
queue was so big, and I was shocked. I've been coming there for last 15 years, and I'm shocked to see the devotees' number has grown to that extent. Now, Shivratri means they have to visit Minto temple. It has become that kind of thing. All credit goes to all the people who worked very hard for the temple. Now, after so much of journey, your spiritual and devotional journey, you brought so many people into your life during this journey. So, what will be your message or suggestion or a guidance to the newcomers?
You won't achieve anything without hard work. And I think whatever you do, be sincere in what you do. If you're working for somebody, make sure that you give your full. And it will make you proud. And you will feel so happy when the company achieved what they achieved and you are part of it. Don't forget our culture, because our culture is very important. Whenever you do, don't make money your priority. Be happy in what you do, proud of what you are doing. You will achieve wherever you are what you want to achieve. I also want to mention one more thing. I've been privileged to have my patients who still feel part of my life, because if it wasn't for them, my life wouldn't be what it is today.
You know, Sandhya, he meets his patients, still meets his patients.
Really?
And he goes to the clubs every Thursday, and he has his different patients come, 10 patients will come or 12 patients. He will call them and message them, and they'll all meet him for lunch every Thursday. And if there's a patient that's sick that he knows about, he even goes to visit them at home and sits and go and talks to them.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
what he does.
So I think people think that retired life, the doctor is retired, so what he must do, reading a book or watching a TV.
He's very busy.
So there's so much enthusiastic life, you know, like official doctor to a personal doctor now.
Yeah, he has not given up. He still sees all his old patients.
That's amazing, sir. That's
The most important thing is that you know the patient as a patient, but you don't know the patient as a person. And the only time you come to know the patient as a person is when you have contact with them, and then they will tell you their personal life, which is so interesting. We are so lucky, I feel. And when you think about some of the people that were my patients, I mean, they've gone through so much more and so much of difficulty, and I think we are very privileged. And being a doctor, you can do so much for them. And I think this is what we should all remember. You may be a doctor, but you also have that inside you to give. People don't think that because you're a doctor, you're God sent. You're not. You have to. When I used to go to Fiji, it was a privilege to go and serve these people who are so simple, had no idea what was happening, and it was so nice to explain to them the basics of their problem. And that is the beauty of being a doctor.
Thank you, both of you, for having a conversation with me and sharing your personal journeys and your struggles and your inspirations and your journey of spirituality. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you, Sandhya.
Thank you, Sandhya and
God bless you.
Nagesh. God bless you both.